All of my friends come to see me last night.
What I'm going to show you here is just a bunch of travel shots that I've taken over the past few years. I picked up where I left off after I got sober and just traveled far and wide and took a lot of pictures, mostly of dysfunction, I might say, but not all. Playing air guitar, there are no strings here. He's just in a wheelchair showing up at a rock concert to get some money from people that felt sympathetic. He did pretty well that day, actually. This is taken in Mexico. I really like the juxtaposition of man and daughter, father and daughter. This is taken in Scotland, actually, quite a while ago. This is taken in Burlington, Vermont. Do people recognize that at all?
Yeah. Church Street.
Yeah. And I couldn't figure out what these people were doing there. So it turns out it was a bunch of ladies walking down the street with a sign, "Take back the night," as they feel that they're in jeopardy because of drunken men who want to rape them. And so they can't feel safe in downtown Burlington. So that was an interesting protest. It just kind of came out of nowhere. And this is in Hawaii, on Maui. And this is also taken on Maui. Of a street musician. "Smile, you're beautiful." And that's a picture of me in the background, about to give a lecture. Through the lens. And that's a picture of my wife Ronnie taken on Jekyll Island in South Carolina. These are all mainly just travelogue shots, driving around aimlessly with my camera. And when I see a good picture, I just say, I gotta stop the car. And in this case, I took my wife and asked her to stand in the window, in the doorway. This is on the vineyard. Now, on Martha's Vineyard, almost all of my pictures, we're getting to vineyard photos next, are very pastoral and beautiful, because that's what the island is known for. But then all of a sudden, I took a picture like this, which is so out of character, but in keeping with the photographs I've just shown you. That's the Golden Gate Bridge. That's Waikiki. This is my favorite beach pretty much in the world. It's called Little Beach, and it's on Maui, and it's a nude beach. It's just unbelievably beautiful. And that's in Costa Rica. And now we get to the vineyard. So this is the second to last chapter of the night. These pictures were all taken on Martha's Vineyard, which is where I live now. And aside from living in Vermont, which I like almost as much as the vineyard, I just adore Martha's Vineyard. How many people here have been there? For some reason, more people are raising their hands on this side of the crowd than this side of the crowd. On everything I've asked.
More liars over
It's just interesting. Well, there are less people over here, though. The vineyard. I'm just going to go. I mean, they're one after another, just beautiful shots. This one was taken, by the way, when I was driving down this road, holding the wheel with one hand and shooting with the other, which is not the most safe thing to do. Alpacas. Horses. This was a horse wedding, 2 ponies getting married. Putting for a birdie. All you need is love. Animals are a big factor of the vineyard life. Summer reading. Homegrown. I call this piece of the island. This is Chilmark morning. The cottages in Oak Bluffs. Boat building. Mist rising. The Gayhead Cliffs. We don't have autumn colors like you guys do, but we have a little bit. Wisteria Road, hand-colored. Dawn along the south coast. Sunset at Philbin. Dawn in Edgartown. Menemsha. Misty morning. A room with a view. The vineyard is as breathtaking as these pictures look. My computer's slowing up here because I'm going too fast for it. This is our local police station on the vineyard. How quaint is that? Now these canoes were lit by the lights of my car, by the way. People ask that. This just looks like so middle America, or it's just quaint. It's our local market there in Menemsha. This is our main town where the ferry comes in Vineyard Haven. That's in Oak Bluffs in the fall. That's the Gayhead Cliffs. Edgartown Light. The Gayhead Cliffs. It's a picture of the day that Obama was inaugurated on the vineyard. And we're going to wind up tonight with pictures that I took last fall of the Occupy movement. I got very involved in this movement because I just thought it reminded me so much of the 60s. And finally there was a pulse of protest against the way our country was going. So all my photojournalistic instincts came roaring back, and I went from one Occupy to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to create an image of what these people look like and the signs they're carrying. Now, was there an Occupy in Brattleboro?
Yeah.
Did it get big and
Decent.
was what?
It was decent.
Easy.
Decent. At the
Oh,
fountain.
oh, okay. Well, I think that, I'm surprised it hasn't come back full force this spring. But anyway, these pictures show the faces of the Occupy movement from last fall. And some of the signs that I thought were so clever. It's one of my favorite ones. These are in Boston. These are mostly in Boston. Jobs. Corporations are people too. We don't all suck. This was taken in Richmond, Virginia. That's Gandhi, in front of South Station. That's Noam Chomsky who gave a speech. This is a paraplegic who showed up to take pictures. Tents in Boston. This is in Savannah, Georgia. was a guy just driving by doing a wheelie and couldn't care less about the Occupy movement. Baltimore. A misplaced Grateful Dead guy. What I mean by that is that he's now 20 years later. Lost a job but found an occupation. I really like this one. Free empathy. We are the 99%ers. This was weird. They were doing a fashion shoot for Glamour magazine right in the middle of this Occupy. I thought that took a lot of nerve to do that. Peace, brother. There's a cop in the background there. That's Peter Tosh's son singing. Harvey Wasserman made a speech there last fall. Love that one. This is on the vineyard. And we're almost at the end. This was taken in Keene, New Hampshire when I gave a lecture there a couple of years ago, and I found a street person right in front of my own little venue. And this is the last shot. There it is. This is a self-portrait of me here with all the images that you've seen in the background here. A little montage. So that's that.
You want to take some questions?
Sure, if you don't mind.
No, it's okay.
Unless you want to wrap it up and go home.
Sure. But no, people want to ask questions.
Okay, no, I'd love to take it.
I would love to ask a question about, are you using digital photography now?
Yes, I went digital in 2003. And it was a while to get there. I was kicking and screaming. I wanted to stay with my film and paper and all that. But then I realized it's so much easier. Digital's getting better and better. And I don't have to deal with the chemistry, getting my fingernails all discolored. And it's ecologically better, and you can recycle everything. It's just, and I can print my own color. I mean, it's really a great leap forward. It's made photography easier, though. It's made the playing field a lot more even. Anyone can take good pictures now, practically, because there's so many foolproof methods that I see the good side and the bad side, but I am digital all the time now. You have a question?
Where is Baba Ram Das these days? And does he still receive people?
Yes, he does. He lives on Maui. You can look him up under ramdas.com, I think. And he does do Skyping with people. But he's pretty much immobilized. And but he wants to help people. That's all he wants to do before he dies. I don't think he's got long to live. I really don't. I got that feeling when I saw him. But he's very at peace with himself. He really is, amazingly so.
I studied with him at 74.
He what?
I studied with him at Europe.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you must have enjoyed that little sequence there. Yeah, check him out. He's just great. He was actually on the O channel, Oprah. Is it called O? Oprah went down to Maui and interviewed him because she has a house there too. There was a big thing with him and her on TV about 2 weeks ago. I think it's on his website. More questions? Don't you have any more questions, anybody? About anything you've seen? Do you have any feedback?
Where were the Mets photographs? Jerry said there were going to be some New York Mets.
I surmised, from the Dodgers, he had
The Mets are in the book. I took them out, oddly enough. Are you a Met fan? It's all in the book.
All right.
I'm sorry.
All right, well, bye.
I just felt this thing was long enough. Okay, go ahead.
I wonder if you'd say something about your impression around the Occupy movement, how real it felt, how possible it felt, just how it felt
Well, I
running
feel
around.
very strongly about the movement. I really do, and I'm glad you asked. I don't want to get into a long rap about it because I know people want to go home or whatever, but I think that it was great that there is finally a pulse, and I really do think income inequality is one of the biggest reasons our country is going to go down the tubes. I really do. It's almost like the fall of the Roman Empire to me. And we've got to equalize it. What happened with the movement is it was too diverse. There were too many different agendas. There was no leader, there was no spokesman, and everyone was in it for different reasons. So it got very chaotic. And I also don't like the civil disobedience part of it, and walking over the Brooklyn Bridge and interrupting traffic and making everyday people angry. I think that just turns people off about the movement. So, but I think what it's really done is increase the dialogue. It's made people more aware. And I hope what happens, of course I'm a Democrat, but I want to get all those Tea Party people just out of there. And I hope this election that's coming up just rams those Tea Parties out of Congress, because I think the obstructionism is just ruining our country. So I'm very dedicated to the movement. I would just like it to be more simplistic in its message. Yeah.
You had a recent photo of Sluggo, Harvey Washington.
That was there.
Hmm?
It was in Boston. He gave us.
Yeah, but you have some really nice early ones of him too, don't
Are
you?
you friendly with him?
He's the one that brought me here.
Oh.
Yeah, he brought me to Montague Farm,
Uh-huh.
and then through there I came to Packard Corners and things.
He's doing great.
But you have some early ones of him.
Yeah, I was very friendly with him back in the day too.
Yeah. But it's been nice to see some early ones, before and after shots of people.
Well, I sort of did a little of that.
Uh-huh.
More questions?
How do you meet Marley?
What?
How do you meet Marley?
How did I get to meet Bob Marley? Well, I was in Jamaica doing a book about reggae. And he was the king of reggae at the time. And I was brought to his house through an agent, I guess a manager, who knew that I was doing this book, and he wanted to make sure Marley was in the book. So I was brought to his house and had that photo session, the famous one with him sitting on the car and smoking the spliff. And I just got to know him, and I think what the amazing thing was is that he felt that I loved his music and understood his music better than most white people. And I wasn't just a journalist from America who was out there to exploit the music. I was out there to love the music and export it. And I think he really enjoyed that. And so he trusted me, and he felt that I was coming from a good place. So our relationship lasted, and every time he came on tour, I would meet up with him, and he really liked Reggae Bloodlines, my first reggae book. That's all the whole story about that is in my book. I don't mean to be selling it too hard, but there is a lot about that in the I&I book. So more questions before we leave? Yeah.
Is there any music recently that you like, or have you just turned your back on at all?
Well, I loved music up until around 80, and then I started listening to reggae. And now I'm picking back up on the music again. It's just so diverse now. There's so many different directions it's coming from. It's not like you sit around waiting for Sgt. Pepper to come out anymore. Having said that, there are some songs that I really love, but they're just sort of little gems that you'd find like needles in a haystack. I can't really name a group or an artist in particular, but there are songs that I really like. I can talk to you about that later on, but I don't want to bore everyone with the ones I like. But I have an iPhone here or there that's full of 1,500 songs, and I'd say about maybe a tenth of them are within the last couple of years. I'm basically folk rock and songs with a message and love, and upfulness.
Dylan, do you still like him?
I like old Dylan. I hate what he sounds like now. Don't think twice, it's all right. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
You have a lot of photographs taken on the street. I was wondering if you would say a little bit about your method of working on the street. Do you typically approach and establish some sort of relationship with people before you photograph them and like that?
Street photography is tricky. I love it. I love doing it, and I will continue to do it till the day I die. But you've asked a very good question, because there's always a question in my mind as to whether I want to use a long telephoto lens so they don't even know I'm near them, Or do I want to come up to them and explain that I'm a photographer and I like what they're doing, and could they just keep what they're doing? And I'd say it's 50-50. And it's kind of an intuitive thing that I either feel this person's going to shun me away, doesn't want anything to do with me, or else they're going to understand that I'm a photojournalist and will continue doing what they're doing. And sometimes they want to get paid. That happened in Jamaica a lot. I had to figure out whether it was worth paying someone $25 to take a picture of them, whatever they were doing. So all the different things occur. More often than not, I would say I try to take pictures of people, street photography, of people before they even know that I'm doing it. I try to be surreptitious about it. Because that's the way you get the best shots. That guy that was playing on the street in New Orleans, like with a guitar, he knew that I was taking a picture, and I just said, I just want to take the poignancy of you with no one in the street, yet you're playing anyway, and you're trying to make that extra $1, and you're playing your heart out. He said, sure, go ahead, no problem, and just kept playing away. And sometimes at the Occupy movement, I definitely asked people, because I didn't want to invade them. So I'd say about half of those pictures were taken spontaneously, the other half they knew. You'll learn after 50 years how to approach people the right way, and sometimes you're wrong. But that's a very good question. I like that question. Yes?
Related to that, now everyone has on their phone camera. At a certain point, are we ever going to, do you think, confront our privacy issues? Related to what you were saying, but now that so much, pretty much any moment in life can be taken by someone else. Has anyone ever approached you later and said, there was the policeman you spoke about, but someone who said, you can't use my image?
That does happen, but you're technically allowed in a public place to take a picture of someone and use it. It's when you're in a private place that you run into problems, like if you're at a dinner party, or if you're in a sort of a special moment in someone's life where it's just inappropriate to exploit it. But if I take pictures on the street, it's a public place and you're allowed. The only thing you're not allowed to do is sell it to like a company like Nike, for example. You need their permission to do that. But to publish it or use it as photojournalism or even exhibit it, that you're allowed to do. And but I do think, on a slightly different tangent, that because everyone's got a cell phone now and has blogs and everything else, people are a lot more worried about being photographed. And I notice it especially at the nude beach, for example. No one wants to be photographed anymore because they're afraid their pictures are going to go up on the internet. And I have to be a lot more careful in certain situations like that. Definitely. Anything else, you guys? Jerry, shall we call it a night?